Welcome to That Digital Take. I'm your host, Torri Webster. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. I have my coffee here with me today. We are coming back from day 2 of Taylor. You see these bags under my eyes. I was out late night. I was really throwing down. I basically put on the 3.5 hours Eras tour with my friend last night. Like, I did every dance move, sang every song. I don't know how she does that because I feel like I've been hit by a truck today. So yeah, I'm coming in hot. Hopefully, like, sometimes when I have less energy, these go a bit better actually because I'm thinking less and I'm feeling more. So I hope that is the case for today's episode. So welcome back to That Digital Take. Thank you so much for tuning in. I'm really excited for today's episode because I was brewing up some ideas over the last couple of weeks about holiday and kind of heading into holiday season and kind of what that means as an influencer, but also what that means as a consumer. And then it kind of ties back to our topic of the week this week, which is going to be all about money. And this is something I think I teased early on in one of the Media Kit episodes, was kind of chatting a little bit more about money, money as a content creator and as a self-employed person, and kind of some of my tips and best advice and all of that good stuff. So that's what you can expect in today's episode. So let's jump in. So obviously with holiday upon us, for me, this is a time of year where I just feel like the expenses go through the roof, whether it's like holiday dinners with friends or just buying lots of gifts. And the consumption can feel a little bit daunting and a little bit crazy. And then by the time you get to January, you're just like, okay, I need dry January. I need my credit card to go on ice. And, you know, you kind of have that like overwhelming sense of wanting a reset. So right now we're kind of heading into that crazy season of spending and chaos. So I wanted to chat a bit about that because from the lens of influencer, it can be a little tough because this is sometimes our busiest time of year. It's the time of promotion. It's the time of consumption. It's the time of new products and, sales, whether it's like the Amazon Black Friday sales or the Sephora sales, and brands tend to put budget behind promoting those moments because they know consumers obviously are excited for holiday. So it is this weird push of managing those campaigns and being conscious of like not taking on too many holiday campaigns or not pushing too much down my like followers' throats because, ultimately I don't want to feel like I'm just pushing product of a day. But then at the same time, like from a financial perspective, it's a very busy time of year and a year to kind of like put your head down and do the work because January kind of famously in entertainment is a little bit of a slower month. So those are kind of the months where you can hide and kind of do less and kind of dream up what that year will look like. So November, December is very much like put your head down, say yes to the campaigns, and take the money while it's hot. Now, we'll get into more of that as I kind of dive deeper into the topic of the week, but obviously this also brings up a time of year that is very intense when it comes to comparison because we're looking at influencers that are living a very lavish lifestyle. We're also, or influencers or just anybody online. I feel like everywhere I look, someone's like heading off on vacation or like buying something special for their loved one or like whatever it is, it's just a very high time for comparison and just kind of want to remind everyone, like we all see it, but like comparison really is the thief of joy. Like we don't need to go there. So, this is also the time of year where I remind myself to stay in my own lane and, focus on what I actually care about, which honestly now, like I'm so not attached to physical items the way that I used to be. And I don't know if that, this is kind of an aside, but I don't know if that has stemmed from my life as a content creator because, and I've discussed this with you guys about, the gifting and kind of the free product that, influencers get access to really so that we can promote it. But sometimes it's just like mailers and like constant new products. And that can just be very overwhelming. So I don't know if it's just been like 10 years of that and now I have a lot less attachment to those things. But anyways, all that to say, let's not play the comparison games this season, shall we? let's stay focused on the good stuff, like enjoying our loved ones and all of that really good stuff that comes along with holiday season. And kind of my pushback against all of those feelings and also the feelings of overindulgence throughout the year as a creator, because I do know we have so many blessings in this job is giving back at this time of year. So this is the time of year where I really like to go into my own pockets and give back to my community, give back to people in my life. And that just makes me feel really good. So a couple years ago, I created Tormis, which was like my holiday giveaways, where I team up with some of my favorite brands and basically give back to you guys. So that's really fun because, maybe I don't care about like super high-end perfume or something, but like I know for someone else that could be like the most iconic holiday gift. And also I shouldn't say that I don't care about a nice perfume. I do, but it's like I just don't value it the same way that I used to. But like for someone else, that's a treasure. That's like incredible. Like someone would die for like that brand new Tom Ford perfume. So anyways, I'm very excited about teaming up with brands like Tom Ford this season. And I'm going to be doing lots of giveaways on my channel. So really excited for that. And also just makes me feel good. I love seeing in all the comments where everyone gets excited about trying on, trying to win the giveaways. And I get the DMs and it's really cute. So anyways, Tormis is a vibe. And it makes me feel good during the holiday season and with topics of money, which brings me to the topic of the week, which is let's talk about the good stuff. Exploring influence in the context of money and building a sustainable business. Now, the reason I did it under building a sustainable business is twofold. For one, this industry can be really hot in moments and you can be killing it and like raking it in. And then it's super fickle at the exact same time. Like that's part two is like sometimes you're in it to win it and sometimes you're just not the flavor of the week. And I think that's where I've seen some of my counterparts in the industry make mistakes is they get a little too high and mighty. They think that they can't fall and they think that they're always going to be making the same type of money. And that's just not always the case because this industry, it's like following trends, right? Like you just kind of want to remain consistent versus these like peaks and pits. So anyways, all that to say, I wanted to chat about it from the lens of sustainability because for me, success is doing what I love every day, but also knowing that I'm okay with change and I'm okay with making adjustments as time goes on, as long as I'm in an industry that I love. So like for me, the sustainability piece is huge. So that's why I've decided to take the topic from that angle. Now, I know when it comes to influencer, money is such a funny topic because one, like half the people in my parents' generation don't even understand how I'm making $1, which I'd respect. Like I get that is a bit confusing for people or they don't necessarily understand how I go from creating content to getting a paycheck. And I see how that can be lost in translation. However, I think the younger generation totally gets it because now it's like their dream to become YouTubers or influencers and they understand that there can be a lot of success tied to people creating their lives on the internet. So anyways, all that to say, it's a curious topic because the first thing is everyone's rates are completely different, right? It doesn't like you could have the exact same following as me, for example, and not be making half of what I'm making. And I'm not saying that as like I've got it figured out and you don't. Like, not at all. I'm just saying rates in the industry are based on such different factors, right? Like, yes, follower count does count for something when it comes to coming up with your first rates. Like, let's say you have 10,000 followers. Where's a good place to start, you might ask? Well, some of it is based on things like, how long have you been in the industry? What are some of the skills that you're offering? Are you like an iconic editor? Someone that can turn out content really fast, meet amazing deadlines, like really fast deadlines? Do you have a professional photography background? Are you offering a skill where you've gone to school for that? Like there's so many different things that play into creator. So that's why everyone's rates are very different. Now, it creates drama in the industry because from a brand perspective or from a PR perspective, when they sit there and let's say I have 10,000 followers and I'm charging $500 for a post and someone else has $10,000 but they're charging $2,000 for a post. Well, it's hard because there's no baseline. There's like it really is the Wild West and I do mean that. Like you could also change your rates. Maybe one day you are charging $500 and the next day you're charging 1,000, and that's up to you to decide. And I'm not saying that's right. I'm just saying that's capitalism, and that's the industry we're currently living in because there's no baselines. Now, I've argued both sides of this. I actually do see both sides of this as someone that grew up as an actor and was kind of confined to ACTRA as a union when I was growing up. If you're on set and you're a union actor, you're going to be getting paid your union rate. Like, I think, again, I'm pulling these out of my head, but let's say it's like $150 an hour to be an actor on set, right? That is going to be across the board the rate, no matter who you are in Canada. It doesn't matter how much experience you have. It doesn't matter like what age you are. Like, I was 12 years old acting. I'm making that same rate, that same actor union rate. Now, there's something to be said that's really great about that because you know what you're getting yourself into. You kind of know what those like packages look like. You kind of know at the end of the year, all right, like if I do X amount of days of work, this is kind of what I'm looking at in terms of salary. When it comes to influencer life, like all of that goes out the window. Like there is no baseline. There is no, I mean, you can set benchmarks for yourself, but that's just for you, like internally. Like if I'm like, hey, I want to make like X amount of thousands of dollars a month, like I can absolutely set those goals for myself, but it doesn't mean that it's necessarily going to happen if one day I'm charging $500 and the next I'm charging $1,000. Again, I'm not saying my like exact rates, but I'm just saying like it can change every single day. And sometimes you can play around. Like if you're feeling frisky and it's a really big brand and you're like, oh, I think they might have more budget, then, you know, you negotiate harder or whatever, right? So all this to say, it is the Wild West, as I've said multiple times, but I just need to be very clear on that. So now back to the sustainability piece of it. As someone who has been in the industry for 10 years, to survive for 10 years, there are some practical tips that go into this because, like I've mentioned, this is a very fickle industry. And if you are not the flavor of the week and you are not getting paid by a brand every single month to be creating content, we need to talk about how to sustain yourself as a business, as a creator, okay? So that's why I put together 4 practical tips for today to kind of walk you guys through what I think about when I go into, and this is also good because this is probably going to come out near the beginning of the year. So I think this is a great time to set goals. This is a great time to be very clear about if you are going to take on this role as a creator, how are you going to manage your life as a self-employed person? And also, like I said, create a long-term sustainable business because ultimately that is the goal, okay? Number 1, diversifying income streams. Now, this is super obvious in the sense that if you're self-employed, like everyone, like every single industry has a version of this, right? So like making sure that you're getting money from different places. Now, the most obvious and the one that we've obviously chatted about the most is getting money from brand collabs. And this is great. And this is where honestly creators make the bulk of their money. Like there's no beating around the bush. Like the brands are ultimately the way that creators can leverage their social media channels to build their businesses. Now, here's the thing. It's much better to have long-term contracts, obviously, than those one-off posts. And when you're first getting started, it can be tricky to get those longer-term contracts. Like once you have a more established brand, usually then by that point, brands are more interested in doing what they would call like a program. Like let's say it's like a 6-month program and you become almost like an ambassador for those 6 months and it's a larger contract and you're getting paid for things like exclusivity, you're getting paid for usage. And that is like a nice like paycheck, right? Then there's kind of the, you know, sing for your supper vibe, which is being paid for one post. Now, still good. Like if it's an exciting brand and something you're really in alignment with, then amazing. I don't think there's anything wrong with taking a one-off post. But the only issue with that is it's really about repeat business. Like sure, you might make $2,000, let's say, on a post, but then where's the next one coming from? Do you know what I'm saying? Like, do you see how that could very quickly be, and this is the issue too, it could very quickly become you think you're making more money than you are because you're like, oh, I've just made $2,000. But like, yeah, you're not considering that like most people get a paycheck to their door every 2 weeks to like pay their rent, to pay for food, like all those good things. So as a creator, sure, you made that $2,000 maybe a little faster than someone else, but you still have to consider where is that next $2,000 coming from. You see my mentality, right? Like it's about creating a long-term approach. So like I said, some months like December, like November, these are really busy, high months for brands. And like an actor, it's funny how like the acting stuff is coming up a bit today, but as an actor, you're only making money when you're working and when someone hires you. And I kind of always resented that as an actor because I'm like, oh my God, like if I'm not on a job, like nobody gets to see my talent and I make no money. And I think what that forced me to do is it kind of made me look inward. And yes, brand collabs are similar. If I'm only working on a brand collab, if a brand is actually interested in working with me. But what I really do want and what falls under this category is making money on my own terms. So that leads me into some subtopics. So this is things like merchandise or creating a product line, right? So these are things that are in my control, something that I could do, whether that's launching a product or launching a service that aligns with my niche. And we see this done really successfully. People do ebooks, people do courses, they sell them online. And that can be really, really successful. And again, it doesn't have to be a crazy price, but even if you're selling a course for $5.99 to 100 people, that's seriously real money. And that's money that you can control, right? So that's great. Another thing, another sub bullet to this is affiliate marketing. Now, this isn't something I've personally dove in deep in my career. And I'm not 100% sure why. I think because it's a little bit tedious, if I'm being honest. But like, I know people that make good money on affiliate marketing through Amazon and through some of those programs, but you basically are just promoting products that you were like obviously genuinely obsessed with, and then you make this like passive income on the back end based on these commissions that are sold. I think Amazon is the best example because that's where people make the bulk of their money when they're doing affiliate marketing. So just something to keep in mind. Maybe that's something you're interested in, and it's like an easy way to make extra passive income that is within your control because again, brand collabs not in your control. And then there's platform monetization. Now, I could go on about how much this pisses me off because we don't have a TikTok creator fund in Canada. I do not understand this like at all because the creators in the US are making serious bank on the creator fund. And it just pisses me off. Like, I don't understand why we always kind of get this like half-ass version of everything in Canada. I'm just clearly on one today. Honestly, I need a sip of coffee so I don't get like so angry here. Okay, one second. Okay, so anyways, TikTok Creator Fund, we can't make money on that in Canada, but if you were an American creator, pop off, go make that dollar. Instagram subscriptions, that's another way. If you have like a subscriber to your Instagram channel, they can pay like a premium to see premium content. And then of course, YouTube AdSense, which that's the most obvious one. Everybody knows about that. But once you've been approved into the YouTube AdSense program, you can make money on your videos through ads, which is great. And again, a little more in your control. I have a lot of YouTube friends that say like, I like that I know that if I'm posting 4 times a month, I'm making X amount of AdSense per video. And I will say, and I think I've chatted about this before, but I have also heard that AdSense is not what it used to be. Again, I'm not like huge in the YouTube space, but from my knowledge, it's a little bit weird now. It's not what it used to be, but there was like a golden era where AdSense was like a real bank. Okay, then the final sub point to this is events and experiences. And kind of like hosting. Now, this will be different for everyone. For some creators, that might look like meet and greets. That might look like workshops. And you can obviously create direct revenue by doing that. You're also enhancing your own brand loyalty by doing these like very specific niche pop-ups or experiences for your followers. However, for me, I would say this subcategory or like another way that I personally like to make money that is outside of brand is through consulting. Now, again, this is like from years of experience and kind of building my consulting background, but it's something I really enjoy and I like to like sit with brands and kind of help them ideate and help them strategize for their programs. And that's just an hourly rate. So like, again, it might be different for everyone, but I think when I started, it was like, I don't know, $100 an hour just for like consulting stuff, which I think is great, right? Because it's just like, you're throwing your knowledge out there, but you're also, using your brain in a different way, thinking from a different perspective. So for me, that's like another exciting way to just like add another tool on the tool belt in terms of how to make some dollar bills. Okay, so let's head in to practical tip number 2. This is financial health and investment. Now, this is what I was alluding to earlier. This is, I think, where influencers really fuck up because they think they are hot shit. I don't know why. I'm just like getting mad and angry all of a sudden. But some creators think they are just going to be functioning at this level forever. Now, the strong and the good creators see this as a business and see it as a job. And that means saving money. And that means being strategic about the money that you're saving. Because like I said, 1 minute you're hot, 1 minute you are not. So you want to make sure you have that money for a rainy day. Like, well, let's go back to that original 2K we were talking about. If you blew that within first 2 weeks and now you're like, oh, I actually forgot that I don't have another brand collab, or like put it on a higher scale. What if it was a 10K project? You have 10K. Oh, amazing. I made $10,000. Well, okay, like everybody else that's working is on a salary, like I said, that's getting paid every 2 weeks. So you have to be strategic about that. Maybe you're the type of person that is like, hey, okay, I have the $10,000. Now I'm going to pay myself out every 2 weeks the way I would like a normal job. Like you function as the corporation and also as the employee. And I'd say that's kind of how I run my business. Like, I didn't really talk about that, but yeah, like I've been incorporated since I was 11. So, from my acting background, and then obviously transitioned into media and entertainment business. So my business has been functioning in the media and entertainment world for, like more than half my life, which is kind of crazy. But all that to say, I think what gets you to that place is the financial health of the business, right? And making sure that in those slower years, or like I said, when I was just an actor, those years where you're not working, how are you investing and how are you saving, right? So that could be budgeting, and just looking at your personal finances and being a bit like strict with yourself, right? So the subcategory to this is investing in yourself, right? And this is important because in this line of work, your skills are so directly reflected in, or like your hard skills are very directly reflected in the content you put out. So if you're taking amazing photography courses and your content's getting better, guess what? You can charge more money. Like it really is that simple. So same with video, same with editing. So investing in yourself and taking those courses or taking on like digital marketing courses, anything like that, that's really kind of extending your knowledge base, I think is so important. And that's a great way to put your money to good use. Passive income strategies. So exploring opportunities like real estate investment. Now my dad works in real estate, so I was lucky. I got into real estate quite young. I bought my first loft when I was 21. Does that sound right? So, build that empire young, kids. And then stock market investments. Now, this is a bit newer for me, but again, be diversifying, having money in stocks. I don't fully understand stocks, so I have someone that does that for me because, again, I don't pretend to be an expert in things that I am not an expert in. But again, just advising you, like there are people out there that can, help you and push you in the right direction and also educate you at the same time, which I think is important. And then finally, this is very, very important for creators, is an emergency fund. Now, I think setting aside a safe amount of money just to ensure stability through the slower months, is really important. And this goes for a lot of creative fields, but I think it's just important to say because, yes, everything can look very exciting and glamorous online, but like the reality is like there are peaks and pits of this industry. And one of them is that you sometimes don't know where your next paycheck is coming from, right? So always staying humble and staying nimble to figure out the next move and staying in gratitude. Like I said, like influencers can charge like a significant amount of money for content, which I completely appreciate, is amazing when it comes to perks of the job. But one of the downfalls or the other side of that is, you might have a great month, but then you might have a shitty 2 months, right? So it's just like, it's such a balance. It's just figuring out that balance. Okay, so let's head into practical tip number 3. This is creating a personal brand that lasts. So like I said, 10 years is a long time to be creating content. Some things that I think have kept me in the industry. Number 1, professionalism. Like I will always execute a job. I will never let a brand down. I will my integrity means a lot to me and what I put my name on means a lot to me. So it has since the day I started and it still is today. And I think that is a reason that I've been able to maintain this because there's a lot of creators that I met 10 years ago that are not in this industry anymore and don't have anything to show for it. So yeah, I'm grateful for that. Consistency too. Like I've never really stopped. I've never put on an out of office famously. My friends make fun of me for that. I've actually never put on an out of office. It really is just me, but I care so deeply about what I'm doing and so deeply about what I've built that, I just try to be consistent with it and stay on top of it all. Some days like this, it doesn't feel as amazing, but it is the truth. Evolving in the market. Now, this is a big one because I've told this example before, but when the pandemic happened, obviously I started TikTok from ground zero. That was important for me to realize that I could grow a whole new platform from zero to like a couple 100,000 followers, because it made me realize two things. It made me realize my skills were transferable. And two, it wasn't just luck the first time around. There are skills and strategy involved, and that made me excited because it made me realize there are things that I know that are so valuable, and I was able to leverage that and put it into the evolution of the market and create a new channel. So that was really, really cool, and I think is an important point. So stay evolving on with the market. Community over virality. This is a very important sub point. It's something I'm passionate about. It really bothers me. Well, it doesn't bother me. Like, I guess it is what it is, but it is interesting to me when I think creators lean too deeply into viral content versus creating community. Now, here's the issue. Yes, virality looks good in the short term. It's like eating fast food. It's like an instant hit. You're like, this is great. It feels good. The numbers look good. Woohoo, we're up. The issue is when it comes to what we were talking about earlier, which is staying in the industry long term, building a sustainable business, virality and those things do not go hand in hand. Virality is something that happens and then it disappears. So community is so important because that is people coming back for more time and time again. That is people that sure maybe followed me on Instagram, but then saw the crossover and went to follow me on TikTok because they care. It's important to have community because they are the people that are going to buy into your lifestyle, buy into your products, buy into what you're selling, right? So virality, sure, you might have numbers, but ultimately nobody knows your name and nobody cares. So that's just an important differentiation. And finally, and this is an obvious one, but must be said, authenticity, right? It does win. At the end of the day, audiences are incredibly savvy and they really value transparency when it comes to the influencer marketplace. And honestly, this point alone is half of why this podcast exists, because I didn't have a place where I could show up online and do a check mark on this exact point. Authenticity wins. And not that I wasn't showing up authentically in my other channels. It's just this is a very real, raw, pulled back version of me. So you get to see it here. So that's why this point is important. And then finally, let's jump into the fourth bullet point. And this is strategic partnerships and long-term collaborations. Now, we alluded to this a little bit at the beginning, talking about choosing contracts that are more extensive versus a one-off post, but really building partnerships that align with your values and offering sustained income versus this like I'm high and then I'm low, right? Like I'm busy and then I'm not busy. Like creating some sort of, and even if it's just one brand, like even if it's just one brand where you know that every single month you're on the hook for a certain amount of deliverables and you're getting paid a certain amount of money, like maybe for you that's going to cover your rent or it's going to cover your food for the month or whatever. And that's just really important. And brands are more interested in this anyways because it goes back to our other point, which is authenticity. And they like creating messaging that is happening long-term over time versus just this like one-off experience, right? So keep that in mind. And the other thing is co-creation opportunities. Now, this is a really cool one. I've done this before. This is like offering brands ideas or campaigns that could include both content and then product development. So I did it with Lazy Pants, a sweat company in Montreal. We created this was a few years back, but we created a merch line. And it was actually called Champagne Problems, which is really funny because it was a little bit tied to like Taylor Swift and then also tied to just kind of what I'm passionate about in life, which is champagne. And then also just a bit millennial, champagne problems. What I cannot do is develop clothes. I cannot develop sweatpants. I have no knowledge in the manufacturing space. And they do. That is their area of expertise. Where I am the expert is promotion and content. So we had this really amazing co-collaboration where I got to put kind of my spin on their Lazy Pants and have my like Champagne Problems logo and create my branding around it and create my content around it while also leveraging all of their exciting manufacturing because they've obviously perfected the sweatpants. So that was a really cool version of a co-creation and something maybe that can be inspiring for you guys to think about if you are in connection with any brands or if you're kind of dreaming up what that next chapter might look like if you want to do some co-creation down the line. And then revenue sharing models. This is also a really interesting one. This is negotiating deals where you receive a share of the sales versus a flat fee. Now, brands are more interested in this nowadays than ever. It's kind of like aligning your success with the brand's performance, and also brands like this because sometimes they're a bit scared to pay influencer rates when they see how expensive it can be to like create a package that they're like, you know what, we'll give you a percentage of sales because if you know that your audience is going to buy, then that's kind of a win-win, right? Now, I will say you want to be weary about this at the beginning of your career because I think it is important to like create a dynamic where brands understand your value and paying a flat rate is important. So again, take it with a grain of salt, but there is a world where it is successful and it can help build your business. So I hope this was helpful today. I know, like I said at the beginning, money and influencer, there's always a bit of a question mark for people. But yeah, like those are a few ways that I have sustained my business and also grown my business over time and continue to challenge myself to grow my business. But I just wanted to give a little bit of insight into that because I know people can like gatekeep around money sometimes. And I guess the last thing I'll talk about is creating a rate because I think that is a question that comes up a lot. Now, like I said at the very beginning, there really is no benchmark. Like there's no mathematical equation. Like if I have 200,000 followers, I'm going to charge $5,000 for a post. Like there's no equation that is going to give you a number, right? So just be strategic. I guess that's my best advice. Like look at your content. Is it really high quality content? Are you engaging with a niche community that's going to buy these products? Are you meeting all your deadlines? Are you going to show up professionally? Because if all of that is true, then push for a great rate, right? Like even if you're just getting started, like even if you have 10,000 followers, I think it's fair to be charging $1,500 for a post if all of those check marks are checked, right? So just be strategic and create your own baselines. And then, like I said at the beginning, it does kind of tie back to this, don't compare because the reality is, sure, someone else might be charging more, but ultimately it's about the long-term goals. It's not about creating more money on one post. It's about creating long-term relationships, long-term brand deals, and surviving through this industry when things are high and when things are low, baby. So I'm ending on a high today. Love you, mean it. Thanks for tuning in. See you in the next episode. Bye.